This daf is sponsored by Sean Kashani. Thank you for your sponsorship. If you would like to sponsor an Amr or Daf, please see the description box below. We continue now at the top of Daf Lamed Tes Amud Aleph in Meseches Kiddushin. This is Kiddushin Daf 39a. The Gemara is in the middle of a question that Ula is asking to Rav Yehuda. Ula is asking to Rav Yehuda, according to you, that you hold Arla and Kilayim are essentially the same. They're both D'Rabbanan and Chutz La'aretz. So why does the Mishnah make distinctions between them? Nisni, what it should have said in the Mishnah is as follows. O Zev Zeh Yored V'Lokech. It should either say that by both of them, meaning if you have Suffolk Arla and Suffolk Kilayim and Chutz La'aretz, it's Yored V'Lokech. He can go down and purchase. Or it should say Zev Zeh Yored V'Lokech. In both cases, he can go down and he can collect, which is even more lenient. But the point is that it should be the same halacha. Why is it that the Mishnah is making a distinction and saying that we're stricter when it comes to Suffolk Arla and Chutz La'aretz than we are by Suffolk Kilayim? If according to you, Rav Yehuda, essentially the halacha by Arla and Chutz La'aretz and Kilayim and Chutz La'aretz is the same thing, they're both midrabanan. And Rashi explains, Nisni o idi v'idi, again, it should either be by both cases Yored V'Lokayach, the Arla u'de Kilayim, meaning by both Arla and Kilayim it's Yored V'Lokayach, O Zev is a Yored V'Lokayach, or maybe it should be even more lenient. It should be by, in both cases, he can go and he can actually allow the non-Jew to go and collect from the actual Arla, from the actual Kilayim and Chutz La'aretz. The lo asur b'Chutz La'aretz eles hazoreya, because according to the even more lenient opinion, they only forbid in Chutz La'aretz the person who actually plants, os halokit b'yadayim, or the person who's actively collecting with his own hands, but to send the non-Jew to collect according to the second version of Zev is a Yored, even if he's going and getting what we know to be Arla, what we know to be Kilayim, we're lenient according to that opinion. Again, by the version of Zev Zeh Yored V'Lokayach, so there, he's allowed to have the guy go directly and collect from an area where it is Suffolk. We're that lenient, but we don't allow him to take from an area where there's Vadai. But in any case, the point is, the question of Ula to Rav Yehuda is, according to you, that by both Kilayim and Arla, the halacha and Chutz La'aretz is the same, it's all midrabanan, so it should have been the same halacha in the Mishnah. Why are we making a distinction in the Mishnah and saying that we're more strict by Suffolk Arla, and we say it's Zev Zeh Yored V'Lokayach, and it's only by Kilayim that we say Zev Zeh Yored V'Lokayach? And to that the Gemara says, Ha'amar le Shmuel Ravanan, but Shmuel actually said to Ravanan that is the case, that we should read the Mishnah in that fashion. Tani, that rather the Mishnah should say, O Zev Zeh Yored V'Lokayach, either by both of them, Arla and Kilayim, it should say Zev Zeh Yored V'Lokayach, O Zev Zeh Yored V'Lokayach, or by both of them, again by Arla and Kilayim, it should say Yored V'Lokayach. But the point is, it should actually be, according to Shmuel, this is what Rav Yehuda responds to Ula, that according to Shmuel, really again the Mishnayos are the same when it comes to Arla and Kilayim, because it's the same basic halacha, it's only midrabanan and Chutz La'aretz according to Shmuel. And the Gemara continues, Mar Brei Deravna Masni Leilakula. Mar Brei Deravna, he taught the Mishnah to be going in the lenient direction by both Arla and Kilayim, meaning Zev Zeh Yored V'Lokayach, that in both cases, whether we're talking about Arla or whether we're talking about Kilayim, the Jew can tell the non-Jew to go and collect, as long as the Jew is not collecting it directly in Chutz La'aretz, it's not a problem. Uvilvad Shelo Yilkot Biyad, as long as the Jew does not collect it directly himself. And the Gemara continues, Amar Le Levi L'Shmuel, Levi said to Shmuel, Aryoch, that was the name that was referring to Shmuel, he said, Aryoch, Suffolk li v'ano echol, he said, you give to me, and then I'll be able to eat. Rashi explains, Sapek li l'kot shelo b'fanai, he was telling him, you collect not in front of me, that way, sheyiyeh Suffolk etzli, that way it's considered to be a Suffolk with regards to me, v'ano echol, and that's the way that I can eat, u'va'orlakai, he was talking about Arla and Chutz La'aretz. In other words, this was a leniency that Levi was trying to employ. Levi said to Shmuel, if you collect it from me, for me, and then it's like a Suffolk to me, so then I'll be able to eat it, I'll be able to be lenient in Chutz La'aretz. And the Gemara continues, Rav Avia v'Rav bar Rav Chanan mesafko sefuke lahadodi. That's exactly what Rav Avia and Rav bar Rav Chanan did. Rav Avia and Rav bar Rav Chanan, they supplied it to one another. They employed this leniency in order to permit Arla and Chutz La'aretz. And the Gemara continues, Amri Charifi de Pumbedisa, the sharp ones of Pumbedisa, they said, Ein Arla b'Chutz La'aretz, there is no prohibition of Arla in Chutz La'aretz. Rashi says, Charifi de Pumbedisa, Eifa v'Avime b'nei Rachva, that refers to Eifa and Avime, the sons of Rachva, to Pumbedisa from Pumbedisa. They were lenient when it comes to Arla and Chutz La'aretz. And the Gemara continues, Sholcha Rav Yehuda l'kami de Rav Yochanan. Rav Yehuda sent this question to Rav Yochanan in terms of the status of Arla and Chutz La'aretz. Shalach lein, Rav Yochanan sent to him, Stom Sveka, you should hide the fact that Suffolk Arla and Chutz La'aretz is mutter. Don't publicize that. V'yabed v'adon, if you have situations of Arla that's Vadai, that's certainly Arla, then then it should be destroyed. V'hachar al peirosein shetu'unim geniza, and you should announce about their fruits that they have to be stored away, meaning we can't trust them because they're too lenient when it comes to Arla with regards to Chutz La'aretz. Rashi says, Stom Sveika va'abed va'da, Kilomar, what he was saying was as follows. This was the response of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan was saying, Sveiko mutter, that in a situation of Suffolk, of Arla, it's actually mutter. Va'da aser, and if it's Va'dai Arla and Chutz La'aretz, it's aser. However, Veheter Sveika stamihu. However, when it comes to the fact that the Suffolk is mutter, that you should hide that fact. Lahoros b'hatzna, you should teach that privately. V'lo l'darsha barabim, don't publicize that a situation of Suffolk Arla and Chutz La'aretz is mutter, ho'elu mekilan, because the people of Chutz La'aretz are too lenient with that, and so it shouldn't be publicized. V'chei agav na'amrinam ben Adarim, and Rashi notes that we say this in Adarim, b'milsa achrisi, by another matter. Rav Huna bar Chinna savar l'midrash v'pirka. Rav Huna bar Chinna thought to say this thing publicly. Amar le Rav, and Rav said to him, Tana sasim lastume, the Tana hid it. V'at darish lo v'pirka, and you're going to darshan it in the public shir. Alma stom hadavar kamar kach heshiv Rabbeinu Gershom Rabbi Yehuda Zatzal. You see that the language over here of Sodom is saying that you should hide this, you shouldn't publicize it. Again, va'abed va'do, and you should destroy that which is certain Arla. Hoel v'hein mekila, and since they are lenient, al tater lehem l'safik zeh eitzel zeh. You shouldn't tell them that Suffolk is going to be mutter. La abed osam aperos biyadayim, rather destroy those fruits actively. V'hachriz al perosein shalelo, and you should announce about their fruits. Hamekilim, but meaning those people who are too lenient with this halacha, you should announce about their fruits shetu'unim geniza, that it has to be stored away because they're too lenient. You can't trust them regarding Arla. And the Gemara continues with Rabbi Yochanan's response, V'chola Omer, that anybody who says Ein Arla b'chutz la'aretz, that there's no Arla in chutz la'aretz, that it's not prohibited, Lo yehei lo nin v'nechet, he should not have a son or a grandson, Mashle chevel begorel b'kal Hashem, that has a portion in the congregation of Hashem. And the Gemara continues, V'inu kaman savrua, and they, who do they hold like, meaning the sharp ones of Pumbedisa, who are lenient by Arla and Chutz La'aretz, who do they follow? And the Gemara says, Ki Tanya, they follow the Tana in the following brayso. Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yossi Omer, Mishum Rabbi Yossi ben Dormaska. Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yossi says in the name of Rabbi Yossi ben Dormaska. Sha'amar Mishum Rabbi Yossi Aglili, who says in the name of Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Sha'amar Mishum Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, who says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Sha'amar Mishum Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol, who says in the name of Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol, Ein Arla b'chutz la'aretz, there is no Arla in chutz la'aretz. But the Gemara continues, V'lo, but is there really not Arla and Chutz La'aretz according to Rabbi Eliezer? V'anon tanan, but we learned in the Mishnah, Rabbi Eliezer Omer Afa Chadash. Rabbi Eliezer says even Chadash, meaning even Chadash applies in Chutz La'aretz. And what does the even mean to say? Apparently it means to say even as well as Arla and Kilayim. Those also apply in Chutz La'aretz. And the Gemara says Tani Chadash, rather you should learn, he doesn't say Afa Chadash, he doesn't say even Chadash. What he just means is only Chadash. Chadash applies in Chutz La'aretz, but not Arla, not Kilayim. Rashi says, Afa Chodesh, Alma ba'Arla Katanakama Svirle, the Mosif Chodesh. It sounds like by Arla he agrees with the Tanakam, he's adding Chodesh. And the Gemara says, no, Tani Chodesh v'lo tisni af, take out the word af, v'achi kamer, therefore he's saying as follows, Arla v'kilayim hareim kashara tuluin ba'aretz v'eino hagen b'chutz la'aretz. When it comes to Arla and Kilayim, those are dependent on the land, and therefore they don't apply in chutz la'aretz. Aval Chodesh noeg b'chutz la'aretz, but Chodesh does apply in chutz la'aretz. T'chsib bo moshav, because it uses the language of mimoshvo seichem, kol makom shatem yoshvim, which means anywhere where you dwell, meaning it applies even outside of Eretz Yisrael. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabbi Asi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Asi says that Rabbi Yochanan says, Arla b'chutz la'aretz halacha l'Moshe miSinai. Arla in chutz la'aretz is a halacha l'Moshe miSinai. Amar le Rabbi Zeira, Rabbi Asi. Rabbi Zeira said to Rabbi Asi, and some have the Gersi here, the Gra has Amar le Rav Asi. Rav Asi said to him, but in any case, V'hatanya. But we learned in a brayso, Safek Arla ba'aretz aser b'Surya mutter. It says that if you have a Safek Arla in Eretz Yisrael, it's aser. In Surya, it's mutter. Now, why should it be mutter if you're saying it's a halacha l'Moshe miSinai? Why are we mekel in a situation of Safek? And the Gemara says, Ishtomem keshachada. He was confused for a moment what to answer. Amar le, and then he said to him, Ema kach nemar. Rather, you should say as follows, that this is the halacha l'Moshe miSinai. It's all part of the halacha l'Moshe miSinai. Sveika mutter v'ada aser. That in a situation of Safek, it's mutter. In a situation of certainty, it's aser. That is the halacha l'Moshe miSinai. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabbi Asi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Asi says that Rabbi Yochanan says, Loken ala kilayim devar Torah. You get malchus for kilayim on a doraisa level, meaning by kilayim in chutz la'aretz. Amar le Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yossi said to him, V'anon tanan, but didn't we learn in the Mishnah, HaKilayim divrei sofrim, that kilayim in chutz la'aretz is only the Rabbanan. Why is it that you get malchus? And the Gemara answers, Lo kasha, it's not difficult. Kan bekilei hakerem. In one case, we're talking about kilayim in the vineyard, meaning to say you're planting the seeds next to one another. But kan bar kavasilan. But here, when we say it's a doraisa, that's talking about where you're actually grafting a tree, one kind of a tree with a different kind of a tree. That's already a doraisa in chutz laretz. Kedeshmuel, like Shmuel says, Damar Shmuel, because Shmuel says, as chukosai tishmoru, it says, my laws you're going to keep. It means to say, chukim shechakakti l'chakvar. It means the laws that have already applied previously, meaning these are laws that applied even to the Bnei Noach. And what are those laws? Behem lo sarbia kilayim. First, the halacha of kilayim, of mixing animals, and sadcha lo sizra. And also when it comes to your field, ma behem b'harba. Just like by animals, you're talking about harba. You're talking about mating one animal with another animal. Af sadcha b'harkava. So too by the field, we're talking about grafting your field. That's going to apply even on a doraisa level outside of Eretz Yisrael, as we're about to say. Uma behem noeg bein ba'aretz bein b'chutz la'aretz. Just like the halacha with your animal applies, whether in Eretz Yisrael or in chutz la'aretz. Afsadcha noeg bein ba'aretz bein b'chutz la'aretz. So too when it comes to your field, that applies whether in Eretz Yisrael or whether in chutz la'aretz. And the Gemara says, Vel haksiv sadcha, but doesn't it say your field? That sounds like Eretz Yisrael only. Why are we applying it to chutz la'aretz as well? And the Gemara says to that, that comes to exclude when you plant seeds next to each other in chutz la'aretz. That does not apply on a doraisa level. But again, grafting, let's say you graft a tree one kind to another, that would apply even in chutz la'aretz. And Rashi explains, again, if you're doing one kind of tree, you're grafting it to another. Chukosai tishmoru, it says in the pasuk, you're going to keep my laws. And again, that refers to laws that had applied even earlier. From the fact that it doesn't say you're going to keep my laws, it says it chukosai tishmoru. Mashmes chukosai asher tishmoru. That sounds like it's saying the laws that you've already been keeping from previous times. Malamid shehizres Noach ubanav alein. That teaches us that even Noach and his children were warned when it came to these halachas. V'elu hein achukim. What laws are we talking about? Behem techalo sarbia, sadchalo sizra. We're talking about again kilayim by animals and by fields. Ve'ezu zrias kilayim shani omer shechakaktim loch kvar. Now, what kind of kilayim by the field is a problem? Dumya de behema. That's talking about similar to behema. That's what was also already by the Bnei Noach. Davar hamesuyim. It means to say a specific kind, a clear kind of mixing. V'hainu harkava. That has to do with harkava. That's grafting. That's not simply planting two seeds together with one another, next to one another. That's actually grafting one min on another min. Umehacha nafkalan b'Sanhedrin de Bnei Noach chuzru alein. From here we learn out in Sanhedrin that Bnei Noach are warned on this as well. V'hacha atamosif lilman mehekesh zed dumya de behema. And then we're going to add on to this hekesh and say there's another halacha besides the fact that Bnei Noach are warned about this, but there's another particular point to this halacha, afilu b'chutz la'aretz, that it applies even in chutz la'aretz to achoves hagufi, because we know by animal, of course, it's dumya de behema. We learn out from here that it's similar to a behema as follows: afilu b'chutz la'aretz, just like an animal is in chutz la'aretz to achoves hagufi, because that's something that's on the body, it's an obligation of the body. Afsadcha b'chutz la'aretz. So to your field, that applies even in chutz la'aretz. And Rashi continues, "V'aksiv sadcha," but doesn't it say your field? Meaning to say, "Hamiyuchad lach," which is designated for you. V'chutz la'aretz lo hiknu l'cha min hashamayim. Chutz la'aretz is not designated to you. That indicates it doesn't apply in chutz la'aretz. And the Gemara said, "Ahu lemutei zuraim." That comes to exclude when you put the seeds together. The zuraim, the kilei akarim, you're planting seeds of another kind of vegetable in a vineyard. B'chutz la'aretz and chutz la'aretz, that's already excluded. Misham da'afke b'loshen zriya kasav sadcha, because of the fact you have this language of zriya, of planting. That's why it says sadcha, that actually is excluded. The zriya is excluded, and it only applies in sadcha, it only applies in your field, it doesn't apply in chutz la'aretz. And the Gemara continues, Rav Chanan v'Rav Anan have a shakli v'azli b'urcha. Rav Chanan and Rav Anan, they were walking on the road. Chaziu lahu gavra to kazora zuroim b'hadei hadadi. They saw a certain individual. He was planting different kinds of seeds together. Amar lei, so one said to the other, Nesi mar neshamte, the master should come, and we should ostracize this individual. This was in chutz la'aretz, and he was saying that kilayim should be a problem in chutz la'aretz. Amar lei said back to him, Lo chavrisu, the halach is not clear to you. And the Gemara continues with another story along the same lines. There was another incident where they saw a certain person who was planting wheat and barley in a vineyard. Amarle, and one said to the other, Nesi mar neshamte, let the master come and we'll ostracize him. Amarle said to him, Lo tzaharisu, he said to him that the halach is not clear to you. Lo kaimelon ka Rabbi Yoshia, don't we hold like Rabbi Yoshia? The Yomar that Rabbi Yoshia says that that the violation of kilayim according to the Torah is only when a person plants a wheat and a barley and a grapeseed in one motion. And Rashi explains, Neshamte, we should ostracize him, Do'avar al divrei sofrim, because he's planting kilayim outside of Eretz Yisrael. That's still a violation of a derabanan. And he answered back to him, Lo chavrisu ein hilchos kilayim mechuvorim lachem. The halachas of kilayim, they're not understood by you. And then in the second story, Lo tzarisu, it's not clear. Ein hilchos kilayim tzoaros u'meiros lachem. The halachas of kilayim aren't clear, and they're not bright for you. And he said, Lo kaimalam k'Rabbi Yoshia, don't we hold like Rabbi Yoshia? Bitmiya, don't we hold like Rabbi Yoshia? Again, Rabbi Yoshia says, you only chayev for kilayim on a doraisa level. You have to plant chito, so'or v'chartzin, you have to plant wheat and barley and grapeseed, b'mapolas yad in one motion. And Rashi says, V'taimid Rabbi Yoshia lo yadana mehecha. The reason of Rabbi Yoshia, I don't know from where he learns, mehecha nafkale deba'inan beis minei zroim v'chartzin shlishi, that you need to have two different kinds of seeds and also a grape seed. That, says Rashi, I don't know what the source is. However, umapolas yad, the source that it has to be in one motion, nafkale milo sizra karmecha kilayim. That's learned from the pasuk. It says you can't plant your vineyard kilayim, mashma shazriya sakerim atzma. That implies that the planting, the creation of the vineyard itself, tiya bekilayim. The violation is when you do that bekilayim, when you do that as kilayim, meaning you do it in one motion. And the Gemara continues, Rav Yosef ma'ariv bizroni v'zara. Rav Yosef was mixing different kinds of seeds and planting them, and this again was outside of Eretz Yisrael. Amar le Abai said to him, V'anon tanan, but didn't we learn in our Mishnah, Hakilayim midivrei sofrim, that kilayim is prohibited midivrei sofrim, it's prohibited midrabanan outside of Eretz Yisrael. Amar le, so Rav Yosef said back to Abai, Lokash, it's not difficult, kan bekile hakerem, kan bekile zroim. In one case we're talking about kilayim of the vineyard, that's prohibited even outside of Eretz Yisrael. But when it comes to kilayim of zroim, of other kinds of seeds, so that's not an issue. And the Gemara continues, kile hakerem, Rav Yosef continues, when it comes to kile hakerem, when it comes to kilayim of the vineyard, de bo'oretz asurim behana. So in Eretz Yisrael, there's a prohibition even to get benefit from that kind of kilayim. B'chutz la'aretz nami gazru b'hu rabbanan. So in chutz la'aretz also, there was a gzeira midrabanan. But kilei zroim, when it comes to kilayim of other kinds of seeds, de bo'aretz lo asiri behana, that in Eretz Yisrael there is no isur hana with that kind of kilayim. B'chutz la'aretz nami lo gazru b'hu rabbanan. So in chutz la'aretz also, the rabbanan did not make a gzeira. But the Gemara continues, Hadram Rav Yosef, then Rav Yosef retracted and he said, Lav milsahi de amri, what I said is not true. And the way we know it's not true, the Rav Zora Ginsa de Bei Rav Meshari, because Rav, he would plant the garden around the yeshiva of Rav, he planted it in different groups, in different rows, meaning to say he separated the seeds, and that shows that he was concerned with the violation of kilayim, even though that was not a situation of a kerem, that was not a situation of a vineyard. My time, what's the reason he did that? Lav mishum eruve kilayim, wasn't he concerned with a mixture of kilayim? And you see that it applies even again when it's not in a vineyard outside of Eretz Yisrael. And the Gemara says, Amar le Abai said back to him, back to Rav Yosef, it's not necessarily a proof from what Rav did. Bishlama iyashmina. Now, it would have been correct, it would have been a proof if he would have taught us. And Rashi explains, Ma'ariv bizroni v'zara, he planted different kinds of seeds, he mixed different kinds of seeds and planted them v'lo b'keren, but it wasn't a vineyard. And so Abaye said to Rav Yosef, V'anon tanan, but didn't we learn in the Mishnah, v'kasal kadaitach afilu kilei zroim nami osrube. And Abaye is understanding from the Mishnah right now that even kilayim of zroim, meaning it's not a vineyard, is going to be osr midrabanan, ki hechi d'Eretz Yisrael, asir midoraisa, just like in Eretz Yisrael, that's a problem doraisa. So in Chutz La'aretz it should be a problem midrabanan. Kilei zroim lo ksib b'hem pentikdash demisad cholos izra kilayim nafku. Rashi notes over here, how do we know that kilei zroim is not asr b'hana? Because it doesn't say pentikdash like it does when it's talking about a kerem. Rather, when it comes to kilei zroim, we just learn it out from the pasuk of sadcha lo sizra kilayim. Lav milsahi diamri. But then Rav Yosef said it's not true what I'm saying. The lo gazru al kilei zroim b'chutz la'aretz. It's not true that they did not make a gezerah on kilei zroim in chutz la'aretz. Rather, there is a gezerah. Leginsa de beirav. This was the garden around the yeshiva of Rav. Shaisel etzorach hatalmidim lechol yerek shava. This was planted for the students in order that they can eat the vegetables that grew from this garden. Meshari, arugos. Again, there were different rows for different species, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Lamed Tes Amid Beis.